Hi everybody, today's topic is shamanic journeying, power animals and soul retrieval. So on October 30th, which is this coming Sunday, Dr. Debra LeClair and I are collaborating to do an introduction to shamanic journeying, to find your power animal in the morning, and then in the afternoon we're doing a soul retrieval exercise. So I really felt like I wanted to come on and share a story of a client that I saw a few years ago, and how these two shamanic practices that are over 10,000 years old were so key to his healing that I felt it would give an idea of exactly how this works and how amazing it is when you connect to all aspects of yourself and your healing in a different way, if you've never done this before. And if you have done this before, reconnecting with your power animal, seeking other soul parts that might like to come home is always a great practice to do. So this really is open to anyone and everyone, whether you're done it before, whether you are interested in it, whether you have a calling for it. So the story that I wanted to share with you, I was introduced to a Vietnam veteran who was having major problems with PTSD, with not being able to sleep at night, with visuals that he was seeing over and over and over again. And a colleague had suggested that maybe some shamanic drumming and journeying would help him to find his peace again. And one of the, so he came with his wife, and she was kind of there to help interpret because his hearing wasn't very good. So I briefly explained what shamanism was about, what the journeying process is about. And then we talked about finding his power animal, because especially with PTSD, if you know your power animal is by your side and they're providing unconditional love and support and protection for you, I know for myself that has made a huge difference in how I walk on this earth, and just knowing that there's this beautiful being right by your side. So we did some drumming, he laid down, and I journeyed on his behalf to help him find his power animal. And I came out of the journey, and he came out of the journey, and I asked him if he'd had any experiences. And because his mind was so incredibly busy all the time, he found that, being still, listening to the drum, which was hard because he couldn't hear very well, and allowing himself to just let go was challenging. And that's why I journeyed on his behalf with him. So I shared with him that there was a black panther that came, and the black panther was by his side. And when he was in Vietnam, the black panther was always there protecting him. And he just looked at me in absolute amazement. He pulled back the sleeve on his shirt, and on his forearm I don't remember which arm, but on his forearm was a tattoo of a black panther. I was beyond astounded. He was beyond astounded that on some level, somewhere along the line, he already knew who his power animal was. And this journey beautifully validated it all for him. So the next time he came, I invited him to do a soul retrieval. And again, I did the soul retrieval on his behalf. So the beautiful part about journeying is you can work on behalf of somebody else. And that way it takes the pressure off of them. And it gives you some clarity because you're not attached or overly attached to the outcome. So we set ourselves up for the journey, and we went on the journey, and I just asked him to breathe, relax as best he could, and just allow himself to let go a little bit. And in the journey, what happened was I was taken back to Vietnam, and I was taken back to when everybody would leave on the plane from Vietnam for time away or for healing. And this gentleman had said that whenever he left to go on the plane, he always felt like a piece of him was still in Vietnam. And that's the perfect example of a soul part that chooses to be somewhere else for many, many different reasons, which we will talk about in the workshop, obviously. And so in the journey that I did on his behalf, what I noticed with this soul part, sitting with his panther, whenever he left, this panther would take care of the soul part, and whenever he came back, they would kind of be reunited. And so I invited this soul part to come back to this gentleman so that he could feel more whole and not feel like there was a piece of him that he had left behind in Vietnam and a piece of him that he felt he couldn't recover. And that piece of him represented a part of his personality. And so that was lacking for him because the soul part wasn't present. So we did the soul retrieval and invited that soul part, brought that soul part back to him so he could feel whole and complete. And now he also was validated with the Black Panther, was always being around him. And this Black Panther had not only protected him when he was in Vietnam, but had protected the soul part that was choosing to stay behind. It's such a beautiful, heartwarming, heart-wrenching example of what shamanism and journeying and power animals and soul retrievals can be and do for people. And there are so many amazing stories of this work. I've even done this work with animals that have been traumatized and done a soul retrieval with them to help them bring back that part of themselves that was missing. So I hope if you are on the fence about Sunday's workshop or wanted to know more, I hope this has helped you in some way. We would love to see you on Sunday. And I will make sure that all of the information is attached to this YouTube video so that you can easily register if you feel the calling. Thank you so much for your time. I so appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye. Blessings from heart love to heart love.